Hi guys, we're live. Right, I'm on holiday, so excuse the fact that I have no top on. I'm just going to quickly message you guys to let you know I'm on. So we've got Rose Finney. I hope you're all well. Takes me a few minutes to tell everyone we're live. A lot of the time when I send it, I say love, not live. Sorry. So we're in Mallorca. Just bit by bit telling everyone. I hope you're all doing well, guys. Um, hope life's good for you guys. So Diana D. Wonder what time it is where you are. Obviously in Mallorca, it's 11:32 a.m. in Mallorca. There's Wasu, and then we've got Deborah. Look, sometimes when I send it live, it says love. Hi, Vibex. How are you this morning? Vibex, we're going to cover your topics. I'm just letting everyone know we're live. I want to say hello to the new member as well. How are you keeping, Vibex? All right? I think we got everyone. Let's get Felamino on. All right, so as you know, guys, we're on holiday. So tomorrow is our last full day, and then we're still here Monday. But oh, good, that's great, Vibex. Did you try some of the keto diet? How did you get on with it so far? Did you say you'd lost a pound? Is that right? Right, I think we've messaged everyone. Jane. Right. So, guys, if anyone has not been messaged, I'm really sorry. I know a lot of you are in America, so a lot of you are asleep. Let's get comfy. I've got my coffee. You've lost more. How much have you lost? Vibex. Right. That's me coffee. What? 5 or 6 pounds? My God. That's amazing. You should be very proud. Has your energy levels gone up? And what is the main food you're eating? For anyone else that doesn't know, a lot of us on this channel are doing the carnivore diet or the keto diet for any newbies. Oh, amazing. See? And the weight will keep, as long as you stick to it, Vibex, it will get better and better. What do you do when you get the hunger cravings? Do you do anything for that? Yes, and they'll get better and better, Vibex, trust me. So if I get too hungry, I have a butter coffee. So it's basically a coffee. I whisk butter into it with a blender, or I have a glass of water. That helps. Or you can have a bit more meat, fatty meat, and that will help as well. Right, let's have a look. So just so you know, guys, Vibex has been asking me to cover Dee Stanley and a bit with the Stanley brothers. Morning, Michael. So we're going to try and go into Vivek's topic here. I was going to read Vivek's email and play a few videos. Morning, Michael. So I just a quick reminder of I just want to quickly mention the members. So don't forget, we've got some new members. The newest members are Tina Wetner, Michael Smith, Snowbird. Snowbird, if you ever join us, please let me know your name and where you're from. Margaret Taylor, welcome, Margaret. And Dorothy McLaughlin. These are our newest members, but I still like to give the members a shout out. So we've got my brother Andreas, Tracy Webb, Eileen Hellaby, Stacey Hastart, Philomena, Wicked Felina, Robin Gavid, Kathy Smith, Sue Shannon, Rosalind Finney, Tonna Logan, Sherry 1964, Colleen, Christine Kingston, Carolyn Loves Elvis Presley, Lily Ramos, Faye Simon, Drew, Linda, Jean Newbeck, Jane Trinor, Deborah Briggs, Renee Hidden Minds, great YouTube channel, and Shirley Jory, James McCarthy, my friend, and Diana D. Williams, and we've got Amy, which is Elvis Girl 1977, and Kathleen Carson, Elizabeth of Sketches and Threads, Pat, Patricia Wingard, Jane Elvis Presley, the Becks, of course, and Tina Wetner, Michael Snowbird, Margaret Taylor, and Dorothy McLaughlin. So welcome, guys. You know, I want members. Please join, guys. It makes me feel good, makes me feel appreciated. It means a lot to me. It does mean a lot to me. It's that simple. So, do any of you guys know much about Dee Stanley, the wife of Vernon Presley? Because we're going to read out the Beck's email that she sent me. Now, from what I can see is that Dee Stanley originally liked Elvis, and out of the blue phoned him, inviting him for dinner. Somehow it was she ended up becoming very friendly with Vernon, and Vernon was taken by her. They ended up getting married. She was married at the time. She also had, I think, 3 boys. Is that right, the Becks? But then after Elvis Presley passed, she went on to say some very horrible things about Elvis. So we're going to show some video clips on that. But I wanted to read the Becks messages that she's had to me. But first of all, I was going to read an interesting message that she told me, that she sent me about Elvis's middle name. Because I was going through my old emails. Now, there's an interesting story that many of you may already know the answer to this. Yeah, that's it. Ricky, David, and Billy. Thank you, Michael. And even Ricky, David, and Billy, haven't they at times said some quite negative things about Elvis to do with his medication and his drug taking? So I think you guys have got strong views and even issues with the Stanley brothers. I know that many are not happy with them. Wasn't one of them at Elvis Week this week? Which, does any of you know which one? Hi all, have a great day. I'm not joining in today. I'm very sad that my beloved brother died a year ago. Oh, so sad, Rosemary. We'll send you love, Rosemary. I understand. I completely understand, Rosemary. So, Lorna, hi Lorna. Hi Sherry. Eileen. So as you can see, I'm on holiday, guys. So I'm not dressed for the occasion. I'm on my wife's laptop. Yeah, it's so sad. So I'm going to read the Beck's email. The Beck's, this is the one you sent me to do with Elvis and the way that Aaron is spelt. Hi, I found something interesting watching a video from Greystam. They were showing up some old paper documents, etc. And I made a discovery, something that should put a lot of things straight. There's been so many silly speculations about Elvis's middle name, Aaron, and someone in Elvis's family said that when he was born, they spelled it Aaron, A-R-O-N, with only one A, and that Elvis later in his life had it changed to Aaron with 2 A's, A-A-R-O-N. I found his birth certificate. It was spelled with 2 A's from the beginning. The only misspelling has probably been done by some of the people even think that the spelling of the tombstone is a sign from Elvis, and that is he is still alive somewhere. Really crazy. I think it's about time to get the facts out there, put an end to all these crazy speculations. I took a screenshot of the document and send it over to you. I'm also sending over a few pictures. You have them already. I don't. So I've heard this story with the spelling, and the bit I heard was that the person who wrote the birth certificate just simply spelt it wrong. Right, now let's go to. We're now going to go on to Dee Stanley. So Vernon's wife, the mother of the 3 kids, Ricky, David, and Billy. I know that she has said things, guys, that are just disgusting. To me, obviously, I don't know her. I wasn't there, but she seems like a bit twisted and quite conniving. And I think the way she treated her husband, the father of Ricky, David, and Billy, very, very badly. I think he even confronted Vernon, asking him if he was in love with Dee. Now, way back then, she was a beautiful lady. Yeah. So Vernon obviously was an older man, a handsome older man, and he was quite besotted with Dee Stanley, wasn't he? And I think many of you don't trust her. Don't trust her. I think she was devious. So let's read Vivek's email. Another interview with Dee Stanley popped up, but this is much older interview. So I've got 2 videos of Dee. One where she's not saying the horrible things about Elvis, and one where she is saying the horrible things about Elvis. So Bex has been sending me stuff, and I've done a bit of my own research as well. And Michael, those things that she said are an absolute joke, laughable, ridiculous. We have to remember that Elvis was a very poorly kid, a very poorly child. So he needed his mum's love and attention more than the average child because he was so unwell. Right, so another interview with Dee Stanley, Presley popped up, but this much older interview, she has her son there too. She is full of crap. In this interview, she almost sounded like she was a little bit in love with Elvis, but ended up with his dad. Remember the link I sent you where she was smearing Elvis and Gladys? So this is, obviously I've got this link where she was saying absolutely disgusting, unrepeatable things about Elvis. Yeah, and I've learned that Elvis wanted nothing to do with her and was very upset when his father got with her quite soon after Gladys had died. It drove Elvis mad. It drove him mad. Any information you guys have got about Dee Stanley, please post it now on these comments so we can all learn together. I think, right, but ended up with his dad. Remember the link I sent you where she was smearing Elvis and Gladys? I think that was her revenge because I know he couldn't stand her. And I've heard this, Elvis didn't like Dee. I still tell that she's lying in this interview as well. Here, and you can tell from her body language that something isn't right. Vibex is right. Hi, Gio, we're talking about Dee Stanley. I can tell she's lying at this interview as well. Here she talks about how sweet Elvis was to her and how sad he was when she and Vernon moved out of Graceland. Not true. So Dee tries to give the impression that Elvis didn't really want them to move out. That she moved out because she wanted her own home. But the truth may be very different, that Elvis just didn't want them there. Right, it's been told by so many that he wanted them out of the house. He liked her sons, and I heard this. Elvis really took to the Stanley boys. He bought them hundreds of toys and gifts to welcome them to his family. And Elvis took it very seriously that he had these 3 boys to look after, and enjoyed them becoming part of his family. But he never took to Dee. This is the impression I'm getting. I'm sending you a link here in case you don't want it to be sent to the YouTube channel. I saw that you had taken away a video I sent you. Sometimes YouTube delete things. Sometimes YouTube don't always allow things. So I don't think I deleted that. Please don't misunderstand me. Let's have a look. I want to clear Elvis's name in the case, and I am 100% sure that the accusations Dee was throwing out Gladys and Elvis is a big fat lie. Sure it is. That's why we're called Defending Elvis. Thank you, the bets. No, any of you guys sending me stuff, I will try and do something about it and try and do a video. But I get so many things, guys. It takes a lot of time for me to just catch up with all the different messages. So Cherie says, too right, Louis. Elvis didn't want her when she tried getting him first. He wasn't daft, yeah. Jane, I'm having a brilliant holiday. Brilliant. But it's going to be over soon. Tomorrow is our last full day. And then we have the daytime after that. And then we're back on the aeroplane. So it's gone very quick. I have missed doing my live streams. I've only been able to do really one a day. And I enjoy my live streams. So I do feel like I'll be glad to get back to doing my live streams. But I'm loving the holiday. I'm having a brilliant time. I watched one time a video D as I'm watching on through the near D will say parts good about Elvis and then she starts into the different direction. Yeah, I've watched both the interviews. I watched them this morning. I'll tell you what, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, come on, Mike. We love the live streams, Michael. I'm sending you. Right, let's have a look. So Vivek says, do you think I would make a live about this? Now, anything you send me that helps us defend Elvis, because we're defending Elvis, fans want the truth, I'm going to do it. But I have to get round to it because I have to get a feel for things. So what I tend to do is I'll get sent a subject. I need to absorb it. I need to watch a few videos, go on Google, and I need to keep researching it until I get this. I need a spark. Now, when I get a spark, then I'm covering that subject. This is why sometimes it can take me a week, 2 weeks to get my head around things. But I have been sent quite a few messages from people asking me to talk about Dee Stanley and the Stanley brothers. So, because there's good and bad with the Stanley brothers, isn't there? So let's try and concentrate on Dee. So I did find these videos. And first of all, I'm just going to play you a little clip, and then I found some pictures. So there's Dee. You can't really see it very clearly. There's the brothers. Let's see if the next one's a bit clearer. She's a typical sort of blonde bombshell look, isn't it? She's got quite deep set eyes, hasn't she? That's them at the wedding, at the marriage, should I say? He's obviously much younger than Vernon by the looks of it. He towers over her, doesn't he? He towers over her. That's her with Elvis. You can't see that one very clearly, but let's angle it a bit, see if it shows better. It's difficult for Elvis, isn't it? Because he wants to keep his dad happy. But that's her in the interview. Right, let's play that. I've done just a little clip at first. And then we'll try and find the main interview. One of the interviews, she's a lot older. Right, okay.
Security guards, they're little playmates, you know. Mm-hmm. So I did feel like that I wanted my own home. But
right.
Security guards, they're little playmates, you know. Mm-hmm. So I did feel like that I wanted my own home. But when we bought the home, I saw how sad that Elvis looked when we purchased the house. And I could see that he was going to be very lonely. And he was. He wasn't happy about us leaving. In spite of the things that might have been said about Elvis and I, Elvis and I had a very good relationship. We had respect. And then later on, there's things that I learned and found out that I did not approve of. When my sons went on the road, I was very grieved. When they got old.
So many of you will dispute that they got on well. Many of you will disagree with that. What's that? Watch Elvis' face standing next to Dee. He doesn't look like. Is that the picture, Vivek? So it's just a little clip, and even in that little clip, she does also say that there was things that she found out that she didn't approve of, which I don't think she tells until years later. She may have said it in a book. Is that right? Right. So let's. For the first time, the last month. Right. So let's just. I'm going to play a few clips now. Let's get the videos up first, and then.
Stanley was in a previous marriage are now reliving their years with the Elvis Presley clan. Dee and the Stanley brothers' previous marriage.
So remember, she was when she met Vernon, she was actually still married. This is a long video, so I can't play it all. So I'm just going to play some clips and sort of skip through it. Yeah, Colleen. Yeah, the lives are going to go back to normal. I think we're flying back Monday night, so Tuesday things should be back to normal. We should be doing the lives, because I tend to do at least 2 lives a day. So from Tuesday onwards things should be back to normal, guys. Right, are we ready to have a look? Just quickly checking it. Hi Rainbow, just making sure. Hi Luann, are you okay? So Luann says, I watch one-time video, Dee. I'm watching on through the near, and Dee will say some parts good. So yeah. So yeah, she does swap and change. She does.
Are now reliving their years with the Elvis Presley clan. Dee and the Stanley brothers knew the real Elvis, who few other people saw during his lifetime, and they vividly and intimately described their day-to-day life with him. On this, the 40th birthday of Elvis Presley, we'll meet Dee Presley and Rick and David Stanley, all of whom knew Elvis on a very personal and intimate level. Elvis Presley here. Dee Presley. How did you come to know the Presley family? You were in Germany at the time that you met them.
Yes, that's right. I had been in Orleans, France with my husband, and we were transferred to Bad Nauheim. And right away after Elvis's mother died, in September of '58, they came to Germany. Elvis was transferred to Germany. And of course, his grandmother and father came along with him. And of course, I liked Elvis from the very beginning. When I saw him back in Virginia at the Warwick Theater, I thought,
as a customer and a fan at the time.
As a fan. I was one of his biggest fans. Of course, I wasn't the screaming fans, jumping up and down, but I saw something.
So many of you have said this to me, that you feel that she wanted Elvis and couldn't have him. Elvis wasn't interested in her. She admits here clearly that she was a fanatical fan of Elvis. But the truth is, she was a bit more of an older woman, a more mature woman. Many feel, hi Elvis, many feel that it was all about the money. And the fact that she divorced her husband, left her husband to get with Vernon, and took obviously the 3 children with her, you have issues with. But I will say this, guys. To up and leave your husband, even if you've got problems with 3 kids, it's a no-no, a big no-no. I will also say this, that if you, I don't want to disrespect Vernon, but to get with a woman who's married and has 3 kids, I totally understand why Elvis was very angry and upset, because the truth is, Vernon and Dee getting together broke that family up. I actually think she probably would have stayed with that. I think his name was Bill. Yeah. So Vernon really, I personally, in my opinion, as my own morals, he made a mistake getting with a married woman that's got 3 children. I'm old-fashioned. I believe that if you're in a marriage and things are difficult, as long as it's not abusive, you have to make things work. You got to give things a chance. You got to get through the ups and downs, and it makes you stronger. As long as there's no abuse. If there's abuse, that's different. So they both made a mistake. And I think karma is a funny thing with Vernon.
And Elvis that night on stage, and I felt like that Elvis was really going to really make it. And so back to the story. Just had to bring that up to date a little bit. But I called Elvis and invited him to come to dinner. Of course, at the time
Now let me get this. You're in Germany.
Right.
You've never met Elvis Presley. You've seen him at a theater in Virginia.
Right.
And you said, well, I guess I'll call up Elvis and see if he wants to go and have a little din-din tonight.
That's right.
Married lady?
Well, I had no romantic intentions of Elvis Presley. You know, just Elvis, you've lost your mother, and you've got your grandmother, and you've got your father with you. So why don't you come over and have dinner with my family and I?
I want to just quickly comment two things. Yeah, with the Beck's comment, you say infidelity, but sometimes if there's children involved, you know, thank God I've never had to go through anything like that. But sometimes if there's children involved, even infidelity, you got to work through it. Now, abuse is completely different. If the man is violent, then that's a completely different story. So, you know, families have to try and make it work for the kids. They do. So she says here that she had no intentions at all with Elvis. I don't believe that. What do you guys think? Do you think she fancied Elvis?
And of course, Vernon answered the phone. I said, "This is Mrs. Dee Stanley speaking. May I speak to Elvis?" He said, "Sure, Mrs. Stanley." And Elvis was right at the phone. Now, years later, I look back and think how it really happened. How did that happen? Because you might as well have tried to get to into Fort Knox later on. Elvis did not talk on the phone to anybody. So I said, "Elvis, I'd like to have you and your family come over. I'm sorry about your mother's passing." And he said, "Well, Mrs. Stanley, why don't you call me on Monday? I'm getting ready to go out on maneuvers." Well, Monday came. I did not call Elvis. And I joined Mrs. Presley. Mother Presley, I call her after her and I was married, and even now. I joined them for coffee at the Grunwald Hotel. They were staying there at the time. So that's the story of the meeting of Vernon.
That's almost incredible. You know, as you say, the chances of getting through to a man of his popularity and reputation at the time seem almost impossible. And the fact that you were simply able to track him down at that hotel, I can't imagine how you knew he was staying at that hotel.
Well, my husband was his first sergeant at that time.
Oh, well, that would help.
Yes.
So that explains how she managed to get through. It was in a hotel to get through to be able to speak to Elvis, and her husband was his first sergeant. So we now know how she got in through the door. Jane, yeah, I understand. Do you know what? I don't really want to go into it on this show, but how can I say it? My father wasn't nice to my mother as well. It's just a shame that we had to go through these things. But it was different times then, wasn't it? People were much stricter, but it was completely wrong.
Yes. You know, rank does
But
count.
now you promised me there was no romantic attraction at this time. Nothing like that.
None.
You just, out of motherliness for Elvis Presley.
Well, I didn't really feel too motherly for him. I thought he was quite charming and quite handsome. But I really felt like that he was a Southern boy. Okay, I'm from the South. So that does make a difference, you know. And I thought, well, perhaps, you know, they would just like to come over to have dinner. Actually, perhaps I wasn't really thinking at all. Sometimes it doesn't pay to think. Just pick up the phone and call.
Yeah, do what comes
Do
naturally.
whatever you want to do. And then if it happens, well and good. So he was there
All right,
at
so
home.
now you go over for coffee and Elvis is in the room.
No, not
No, he's
Elvis. He's in the field. But I have coffee with Vernon Presley and his mother. So when I arrive at the hotel with my friend, I had someone to come along with me. They rang the room that I had arrived. And I was looking out the window, and Mr. Presley entered the room. And I turned to look, and I said, "Hello, Mr." I couldn't believe that I saw such a handsome man as Vernon Presley. I was just aghast, you know. I didn't think that his father would look like that. So we had coffee, He said, "How are you, Mrs. Stanley?" And I noticed we
So
glancing at.
I think now what are we really trying to get at here with obviously with the Bex topic, and that is we feel, but we don't know, that she couldn't get Elvis, so she thought Vernon is the next best thing. Is that really how we feel? Now, don't forget, Vernon, he's an older man, probably feels quite flattered that Dee, a beautiful young blonde woman, likes him and was taken by her charms. Because you can see she's got the gift of the gab. She was a good looking woman. He's an elder man, lonely, I bet felt lonely, wanted the love of a woman, and she hooked him, didn't she? She hooked him with a fishing rod. So I do get the feeling that he was taken in a bit. He was a bit took advantage of, and I think that's the general feeling with you guys. So I want to sort of jump around a bit. Obviously, I could carry on going on that, and she basically talks about how, you know, they had a chemistry, a connection. He made it very obvious that he liked her, and so she had him in the bag. She bagged him. So don't forget, bagging a Presley way back then. I'm guessing this is the early 60s. Yeah. It could even be. It could even be the late 50s, couldn't it? She sure did, Michael. She had a Presley. She was going to become part of Elvis's world and the glamour that comes with that, and obviously Graceland's and the fame and the money and the success. She was going to be part of that, and so was her children. So if she's up for it for the money, she had a lot to gain by splitting up with her poor husband Bill and moving lock, stock and barrel to Graceland's. And I'm completely not surprised that Elvis was infuriated. So Vernon was in his 40s and she was in her 30s. She wanted to be circle next to attention. Her book, her book was awful. I keep hearing from you guys that her book was awful, but she's quite a young 30, isn't she? She's quite a young 30. I totally see how a man in his 40s could fall for that woman. Completely understand that. So I wanted to play the bit where he's older, where she's older. Let's see if I can find it.
A previous marriage are now reliving their years with the Elvis Presley clan.
Right,
And now, I want to dive into an interesting.
Let's get the right one a minute. So I want to play the one where she's older. Let's have a look. I found quite a few videos. I know that the Bex has sent it me. Let me just see if it comes up on here. So when she's older, this is when she starts coming out with these very weird accusations. I think I might have to go to Vivek's email. Thanks, Vivek, by the way, for sending me this. Right, let's have a look. Right. 1 second. Can never find these links. Let's have a look. I get so many emails. Right. Aha, this could be it here.
Now,
right.
The Inquirer cover, and let me just introduce, sitting next to Dee is Mike Walker.
Or not. Well.
Right, I found it, guys.
Yes.
Okay, now during the time that you were with Vernon, you allege, and you know it sounds outrageous,
Mother Presley, when I say Mother Presley, Vernon Presley's mother, that's his grandmother, and last, Vernon Presley himself.
Your
Husband.
ex-husband.
My ex-
Right, we ready, guys?
Hey, brother, work the program. Perhaps you've seen the Inquirer, or maybe you've heard its basic charge. The charge is outrageous. Let's get right to it. Now, joining us is Dee Presley, who was Elvis's stepmother, Elvis Presley's stepmother. She was married to Elvis's father, Vernon, for 17 years. And she claims the real truth about Elvis is so shocking, so unbelievable, that she had to wait until now to reveal what she alleges was the king's deepest, darkest, and final secret. So before I even introduce the people sitting alongside her, let me get right to Dee Presley. Dee, what is the
Right, so before we say it, I just want you guys to know that I completely disagree with this. It is disgusting. I do think we probably have to cover it briefly. It isn't one of my favorite topics, but I'm going to just cover it a little bit. I think it's disgusting what this woman said. And if Elvis was alive, he would have sued her for everything and shut her down. But we're going to play a bit of it, okay, guys?
darkest and final secret. So before I even introduce the people sitting alongside her, let me get right to Dee Presley. Dee, what is the secret?
The secret, the issue that we will be talking about today is the love between Gladys and Elvis, the incestuous love, that they were lovers.
You allege that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, had a sexual relationship with his own mother, Gladys.
I know the truth. I was told by three closest to him. First, by Alberta Holman. She lived for the Presleys and took care of Gladys until she died and remained on at Graceland for a few years after I came there. Mother Presley, when I say Mother Presley, Vernon Presley's mother, Elvis's grandmother, and last, Vernon Presley himself.
Your
Husband.
ex-husband,
My ex-husband,
well,
yes.
he's passed away now.
Yes, that's
the late
true.
Vernon Presley. You allege Vernon even admitted it?
Yes. This didn't happen instantly when I came to Graceland. It took a period of years and longer for Vernon to deal with it.
Okay, you married Vernon in 1960,
Yes.
and you divorced Vernon shortly before Elvis himself died.
No, after.
Oh, it was after the death. Oh, I didn't know. I thought it was before the death.
No, after.
So but you were separated, weren't you, at the time?
Yes,
Elvis died?
I was legally separated for at least 3 years
From Vernon.
from Vernon, yes.
Okay, now during the time that you were with Vernon, you allege, and it sounds outrageous, that people adore Elvis, many people, despite the facts and circumstances surrounding his later years,
Yes.
the drug abuse, etc.
Now, I will say this. If you look at the interviewer's body language, he doesn't believe a word of it. He doesn't believe a word of it. And her body language is terrible. She really does look like she's lying through her teeth, big time. So Dee most probably thinks she was the right time, and she thinks she considers herself lucky. I'm married into the Presley family, and goes the same to Priscilla. They got what they wanted. But this is a money thing. In my opinion, guys, this is all about money. She has been given a large amount of money to do this. That is just my opinion. I didn't know her. I can't prove that. Rainbow says she was angry that Vernon divorced her and found Sandy Miller, and no money was left to her and her sons, and neither Vernon or Elvis. Vernon left the estate and money to Sandy, his fiance. There you go, guys. Rainbow just hit the nail on the head. There is bitterness behind this. There is revenge behind this. That is my opinion. I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's not just money, Michael. I would say she's getting revenge. Honestly. Rainbow hit the nail on the head.
So you're saying, it's almost like spitting on an icon. I don't want to be judgmental about it. I want to be open-minded about it, and I want to lead us through. I want you to lead us through how you came to be convinced that Elvis and his mom had an incestuous relationship. First of all, now you and Vernon never had any children.
No, I had a miscarriage.
Okay, now when you became
just so you know, even now when she talks about the miscarriage, she literally blames Vernon for killing her baby inside her. Yeah. So there's some serious issues here, guys. So we have to sort of read between the lines. Remember, because we're defending Elvis Presley and anything related to Elvis, we have to listen to the words, but then try and see what's behind the words, what is causing these accusations. And you listen to what she's about to say now. It's quite disturbing.
Pregnant.
In 1961, yes.
Okay, a year after your marriage to Vernon, how did he respond to your pregnancy?
Well, I had expected him to be happy to have a child. And of course, he was not happy. He seemed to suspect that people would think that the child belonged to Elvis, which to me was unheard of at that time. I was not totally aware, but I knew there was some serious problems in the family because seemingly Vernon was more or less the outsider of the family.
You're telling us that Vernon reacted in a violent and negative way?
Very, very violent.
Thinking
yes.
that Elvis
might have fathered the child. And of course, to me, I found that most disturbing at the time. But at the time that this took place, I did not know all the facts that was later revealed to me about the love affair between Elvis and his mother. It is shocking.
So, you know, like Sherry just said, that there's a lot of anger. You can see it in her eyes. You can see it behind her eyes. You can see it on her facial expression and the way that, even the way her lips are moving. That this is a very, very angry person. And, you know, she talks about this weird thought that she has, because I think this is all in her mind. Yeah, I think she's just misinterpreted the fact that Elvis was close to his mother and turned it into something vile. But that her talking about the fact this stupid lie about Elvis and Gladys has nothing to do with the pregnancy. So she's trying to tie it together, isn't she? She's trying to go, oh, this is what happened with me and Vernon. He pushed me over and caused me to have a miscarriage. But then she brings up the fact that this so-called sexual relationship between Gladys and Elvis, which is ridiculous. She's trying to tie it together to make it more believable. But I think the more she goes down that road, it's more unbelievable.
Taken me a long time to deal with it. But I ran out of the house and Vernon came in a violent drinking rage and shook me. And of course, I was crying and ran out of the house and stumbled and fell. And of course, I had the miscarriage. So that was my very first inkling that things were not well.
in that home.
In that home.
That it was a so-called dysfunctional home.
Right.
You allege. Okay, now let's take us through the other sources. Alberta Holman.
Yes.
So
Last time.
yeah, I'm not going to give her too much airtime because I think the woman's sick. Sorry, guys. I think she's twisted. This isn't a topic I really want to go into further, but I think the Bex has a good point that we need to defend Elvis. We need to expose this woman for the lies, the twisted lies, whether it be about Elvis and Gladys or her having a miscarriage and blaming it on Vernon for pushing her over. I just think you can look at the eyes of the people sat behind her in the audience. No one believes her. It's very, very clear. No one believes her. So I just think, what a sick, twisted woman. What a sick, twisted woman. And what a shame that such a lovely man like Elvis had to go through, well, he didn't go through it, but because obviously he's passed, but his family, people like Lisa Marie, and anyone connected to Elvis that loves Elvis had to go through that in the press, the media, because that was in all the tabloids, all the magazines. It was shown around the world. And I'm like, why? Poor Elvis. Poor Elvis. Why? Yeah. It's just, this is just how unfortunate Elvis has been with so many people that touched his life. And not, you know, we could be talking about certain members of the Memphis Mafia and Priscilla. We could be talking about, why did these people get so jealous and envious and angry and twisted where they have to talk about him in such a disgusting way? You know, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, guys. So I don't even enjoy the fact we've done this, but I did want to just go through with the Dee Stanley with the Dee Stanley
Dee and
interview,
the Stanley brothers knew the real Elvis.
I did want to just show the brothers a little bit. Let's have a look, see where they come into it. At some point, she is on. They come in on the interview, and let me just see if it's this one. Right, here we go. Because I'm not happy with a lot of the things that the Stanley brothers said as well. Just don't like it. I don't like the way they talk about his addiction. I think that they twist it.
Around this, man, we didn't have any idea. I was 5 years old who Elvis Presley was. Being driven to school in his pink Cadillac sure got a lot of attention, and kids were walking up to us saying, "Rick, what's Elvis really like?" and going on. I didn't know who the man really was, sir, until 1969 when I saw him on stage, and I saw him put on his first live appearance in 10 years. That's when I realized the impact that this man had upon young people and older people also.
Mm-hmm. When did you know who he was? Right off?
I would think it was 1969 also.
Also, you're both little kids then.
Yeah, we were 14 back then. I was 14. We saw Elvis in Las Vegas at the Hilton, or the International at the time. And we really recognized, we saw the impact that he had with, the public.
Was it a wow?
It was a flash, yeah. This is incredible. It was a rush.
How was he to you? He really, if he didn't choose to, he really didn't have to be nice to you if he didn't choose to.
No, sir. The first day that we met Elvis, we sat and talked with him for a moment. The next day we went outside. There was 3 of every toy imaginable. Ponies, scooters, bicycles, swing sets, everything. There was nothing like getting brand new Cadillacs for your birthday and things like that. It was a tremendous lifestyle, and Elvis was more than a brother to us. He was more like a father and a best friend, and we really didn't realize the impact and who he really was until we started seeing the people react to him. And when we started traveling with him when I was in 1970, when I started seeing all the people, how they'd act around him, he was a fantastic brother to us.
Dee, we've all read the stories about his generosity to people where he would buy them cars or very, very expensive presents, people who had nothing or people who simply bumped into him on the street and were nice to him. Would it be fair to say that he was very generous with his money and with giving of material things, but maybe not so generous with his emotions?
Right.
His privacy?
That could be right.
I don't know if that's right or not.
Well, as a child, Vernon has often told me that Elvis felt like he had to buy.
Well, I'll interrupt that a second. Now, I've heard Elvis was very generous with his emotions. I've heard that Elvis always had an ear for the Memphis Mafia and close friends, close family, and he would sit down and listen to their problems, and he would oftenly speak to the family members and say, "Look, do you want to talk? Do you need someone to talk to?" And Elvis was very, very caring in that way.
And give kids gifts, even to play with him, And maybe when he grew up, he still wanted to keep people. I can understand that. He was a very lonely child, being the only child, and sometimes that did really aggravate Vernon. He said, "Oh, you really don't have to buy people." But, bless his heart, who knows? That's wrong.
Do you see that? Do you see what she's doing here? She's trying to lead the way. Oh, you don't have to buy people. I never for a second have I thought that Elvis tried to buy people. I've never thought that. What I've always felt about Elvis's generosity is that he just couldn't help himself. The reason he was so generous and caring and giving was because he loved it. It made him feel good. He enjoyed giving much, much more than receiving. And this was something in the Bible that he learned as well, that the importance of giving and not receiving. So she's trying to make out as if he bought people by giving them things. Elvis didn't have to buy anyone. He never had to buy anyone. Everyone adored him and loved him anyway. So the fact she says that really annoys me. It really shows me that she's a complete idiot. So let's just play a little bit more.
He would give a gift. He was very generous, but you're right as far as generous, and with his emotions, and a lot of times he was a very self-centered person also, which I can't say.
Oh God, it just really irritates me. I tell you what, Elvis was so not self-centered. He was the opposite of self-centered. He was, oh God, he really did over care about everyone around him and over worry about his friends, his family, and complete strangers. And he would worry, he would read the newspapers and he would watch it on the news, and he had this outpouring of care and love, and that he wanted to share with the world. He was just so kind to right down to his core, So when she says these things, it really bugs me. It makes me want to shout at her. That's how I feel.
About that, a lot of people are, and like their privacy. But
What about all of these purported investigations that appear on television or in the press about how Elvis Presley really died, about how heavily he was into drugs and sex? How do you react to those things?
Well, Elvis definitely had a problem with drugs. The last 2 years, a year and a half, he really got bad. It started with medication given to him by doctors to like go to sleep and wake up for the tours, and it finally just caught up with him. It got to a point where he got dependent. And,
Right. So I want to just talk about that few words that he's just said. It started with going for waking up, going to sleep, giving himself energy for these concerts. Now that was completely normal for a rock star, a rock and roll star, to need some help with energy, with being alert, with getting to sleep. Obviously, Elvis had very, very bad insomnia. And do you hear what he says? About a year and a half before he died, that Elvis didn't have a problem with the over medication, with being overprescribed medication. So they're talking about the last 18 months of his life. But what they don't mention is that the last 18 months of Elvis's life were horrific. He had very, very chronic, serious medical problems that affected his whole body. We know this: his lungs, his liver, his colon, his twisted colon, his insomnia had got worse and worse, and he was overworking and doing 2-3 shows a day every day. And Elvis really did need a lot more medication in the last 18 months of his life. It doesn't make him an addict. He needed his very strong painkillers. He needed his uppers to get on stage. Elvis couldn't relax, so he needed to be sedated. Elvis couldn't sleep. He needed his sleep. So what I wish the Stanley brother, I think, is that Rick? What I wish the Stanley brothers did was say, explain his medical problems, then talk about the prescribed medications he was receiving. Instead, they don't do that. They sort of hint that he just loved taking drugs, which is so far from the truth. So far from the truth.
So then we're not talking about cocaine or marijuana,
Not
street
street
drugs,
drugs
that kind of thing.
Prescribed medication, everything was given to him by a physician at all times. Elvis, sir, I used to really be into drugs and things like that myself, and was really into the Class A narcotics and marijuana and coke and heroin and things like that. Elvis would really get uptight about it. He would, if he got wind of it, he would really jump on my back about it. And Elvis could justify because it was prescribed medication, whereas he couldn't see me doing all the street drugs that I did. So Elvis really, he loved his country. He loved young people. He was really a clean-cut guy all the way down the line. And he just couldn't understand why we want to get into the street drugs and things like that.
Yet for him, it was fine because they were prescribed.
Right.
Now, there is one doctor whose actions are open to some question at this point as to whether or not these prescriptions were all really necessary to the well-being of Elvis Presley, the performer who maintained a frenetic schedule. What do you think about that? The doctor and the necessity of the prescriptions.
Well, at this point, sir, I really kind of feel sorry for Dr. Nicopoulos.
All right.
Because I really think the man really loved Elvis. I think his intentions were good, but I think he got just a little bit too carried away. You know, he was writing out prescriptions for just anything. Whenever Elvis wanted it, he would write it out instead of when he needed it. He was giving him anything that he wanted. I really feel sorry for the guy, but the guy's supposed to be a physician. He takes an oath before the Healing Arts Board, and he writes out a prescription for, well, you know, in 6 months, it's obtained something like 20,000 pills. And that's ridiculous. No human being.
Okay, guys. So I'm going to have to sort of leave it there. But to me, this is the mistake that the Stanley brothers make, is that they don't know all the facts. Now, Rebecca has just said they may have not known about how chronically unwell he was. Elvis was a proud man. He did keep a lot of his illnesses to himself. He was embarrassed of some of them. So I agree that they didn't know all of the chronic illnesses that Elvis had, but I do believe, especially because they were around right till the end, yeah, that they knew that he was unwell. They knew that he needed some of those medications. I really believe that. So any indication that Elvis was some strung out drug addict that comes from the Stanley brothers, to me, is completely unfair, and we need to defend it. And I don't care how many nice things the Stanley brothers say about Elvis, because there's loads of interviews with the Stanley brothers, and they praise Elvis all the time, that he was a great brother. He was so generous to them, and he treated them as if they were his real brothers. I think Elvis was really, really good to the Stanley brothers, all three of them. And I think he truly loved them. I think he was the best brother you could ever have. So whenever they bring up anything negative about Elvis, I don't like it. They're betraying him. It's a betrayal of Elvis. He doesn't deserve it. So I'm upset with the Stanley brothers. I'm upset with them. And do you know what? In my opinion, they don't deserve to be at Elvis Week. I think one of them's at Elvis Week, yeah? In my opinion, they don't deserve to have spent their lives making money from Elvis's legacy and the fact that they were step brothers of Elvis. I just don't think they do, because if you're a true person that loved Elvis, if you truly love Elvis in the way that he's trying to make out, especially in this interview, that Elvis was amazing, yeah, you don't bring up all the drug stuff, you don't say the negative stuff, you don't belittle Elvis. Elvis wouldn't like it if these three boys that Elvis treated like angels, gave them everything, including educating them. I don't think Elvis would be glad that these boys are belittling Elvis and talking about him as if he was a drug addict. No way. No way. I truly believe Elvis did not see himself as a drug addict. I think that Elvis had lost control of the medication, and there's a possibility he had been over-prescribed medication by Dr. Nick. But never a drug addict. Never a drug addict. A street-type drug addict, like heroin and coke, and never. Elvis was completely against that. So any indication of that is completely wrong for Elvis, completely unfair to him, and it's just damaging his reputation and his image. So I'm sorry, Stanley brothers, you're in the wrong, guys. You're in the wrong. You have betrayed your stepbrother. That's what you've done. Less of this, more love, more of this. Yeah, that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. And that Dee Stanley, she should be ashamed of herself. And I know they're not around. She's not around now, but I think she's not around now anyway. But that is one of the most disgusting things I've ever had to listen to, ever. That Dee Stanley's words, and I've only played a few minutes of it. I don't want to play the rest of it because it sickens me. Sickens me. Rainbow, I agree. If you love Elvis, you won't say shite. Sorry about, excuse my French. You won't say garbage. Yeah, David, I think makes him, yeah. Linda, I know. I've seen all these interviews. They're out of order. So Sherry says she saw Amy explaining how Elvis's medical problems, especially leaking gut, would change how he could actually manage dosages of medication because it wouldn't have been able to be absorbed. Yes. So you're talking about Amy Collett and her interview with Presley Mania. Yeah, she says he had something wrong with him where because his body couldn't absorb the medication, he needed 4 times as much. That's what Amy Collett said. It's true. Anyone heard Elvis during a concert having a right go at the media? Yes, I know about that, Lorna. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I agree. They were trying to talk about him as if he was a strung-out drug addict. Elvis was never a strung-out drug addict. He was a very unwell man that needed heavy painkillers, extremely heavy painkillers, because he was in serious pain. He was desperate. Elvis was a very sick man, very desperate, very unwell. So yeah, he screamed out for medication. What else could he do? What else could Elvis do? He could only medicate. Painkillers. That's all he could do. Any kind of, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, laxatives, anything to ease the discomfort of his twisted colon, his blocked colon. Anything to, could you imagine the pain Elvis went through because he couldn't go to the toilet properly? He was desperate. What would any of you do if any of you were in this kind of pain, with not just with pain in the body, also pain with the discomfort of not being able to go to the toilet, basically being blocked up? You're going to scream to your doctor, aren't you? Anyway, guys, I'm going to have to go. I will just thank you all. Thank Vibex. Thanks for all the information you've sent me, Vibex. I think we've covered it. I could go into it much more deeper, but I've covered it enough that we know that Dee Stanley is a nightmare, a living nightmare. She was Vernon Presley's worst nightmare. Massive mistake, in my opinion. And the Stanley brothers, they got a lot to answer for, out of order. And in my opinion, they're not welcome at Elvis Week. But it's not up to me, is it, guys? Hi, Sandra. Hi. So thanks, guys. I'm going to have to go. I will give you I'll quickly show you my holiday. And then I'm going to have to go and join my wife. And if I may get back on later, but I'll be back on tomorrow. It's beautiful sunny weather. Look at that, guys. Goodbye, everyone. It is about nearly 1 p.m. I will do. Look at that, guys. I'm going to go out, have a Bacardi and a lager and sunbathe, go for a walk. I do like going for long walks. And I'm back on Tuesday. I'm back on Tuesday, guys. Take care, everyone. See you guys. I hope you enjoyed it.